All right, we're recording. All right, we got a live in studio podcast with my buddy Kellen. Kellen is someone I consider a hunting partner, somebody who I have a ton of respect for, and someone who I consider probably one of the best hunters I know. He's just very methodical and he guy finds a way to always get it done. He always gets it done right too. He's just a really good hunter, and someone I have a lot of respect for. And I don't hunt with a lot of people, but I'll definitely hunt with Kellen any day of the week. If Kellen called me and needed help, I would go and help Kellen, and I know Kellen would do the same for me, and we've proven that a few times over now.
For sure.
And due to some like local SoCal drama we've had lately with hunting partners, I want to talk about picking the right hunting partner and what a hunting partner looks like for you, and kind of just go into that. I don't know where we're going to go with it. We're going to see where it goes. We're going to talk about hunting partners and when the importance of a good hunting partner versus a bad hunting partner. So, Kellen, how you doing, dude?
I'm good, man. And thanks for the kind words. I'm not, it's not because I'm smart. It's just because I'm stubborn. Too dumb to give up. But yeah, hunting partners can definitely get burned for sure. But we've had some good hunts. Drew and I went to Idaho back in 2020 and had an amazing hunt together. And we don't get to hunt together very often just because of work and family life and business and all that stuff. But when we do, we always have a good time.
Yeah, we hunt locally a few times a year together. And I think we're always trying to find a way to hunt together. Every year we're kind of I think we pretty much every spring we're kind of like, hey, what tags do you have? What are you trying to do?
Mm-hmm.
Then Kellen had to go and have a baby.
Yeah.
Kind of threw everything out of the, so he's been getting those baby points in right now. But he still gets out and hunts a lot though. His wife's pretty incredible for letting him do that and just helping him out with that stuff. She knows it's important to him. But I don't know. My hunting partner, like my favorite hunting partner, I would say is my son and my father-in-law. Probably you and Daryl. Like there's like a very small list of people who are my hunting partners. And I do that for a reason. There's just so much goes into it to picking the right guy. I mean, off the top of my head, one, physical ability. Two, mental. I think mental toughness is probably the biggest one. I didn't write this down before. I think mental toughness is probably the biggest one. I think perspective is another one. I think positive attitude is another one. Man, there's just so much stuff that goes into it. Abilities, right?
Mental toughness is for sure the biggest one. I have a background of like running around in the mountains and like climbing and backpacking and for whatever, like 30 years. And basically like my dad and my uncle like taught me that it was cool to do like hard stuff in the mountains, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't mind being uncomfortable for long periods of time to get at whatever the goal is for whatever the trip is, right? And I think that's something that's like number one, because if you have somebody that's like day two and they're complaining about the heat or whatever, their backpack load or whatever, and you're on a week-long trip with that person and on day two they're already complaining, it's going to be a rough week, right?
Yeah, there is something to be said about grit, right? Like I tell people all the time that I feel like my boys have more grit than the most men.
Because you probably taught them, like,
yeah, they've been in the duck blinds.
Like
they've been cold. Their feet have been wet in duck blinds since they were 3 or 4 years old. Drag them to the mountains and doing stuff. I mean, like last year, my kid hunted 7 days for Coos deer. Then we went straight over to an elk hunt, and he missed opening day. And then we hunted the full hunt. I think it was like an 8-day hunt. So we were in the hills for like 16 days, and his knee was torn at the time because he had torn it on another elk hunt. We went almost hypothermic one time. I mean, it was miserable, and we weren't getting on elk. And dude, that kid would just be like, thank you. We always say thank you when we're hiking out. Like it's miserable. We'll just say thank you. Like when it's 9 o'clock at night, you've got to literally, we were having like 3 hours out at night. We're getting back to the truck or the camp at, 10, 11 o'clock at night every night and then getting up at 4 in the morning, sleeping in the middle of the day. He's got that grit. And that's probably the most important part of hunting, right? Like I joke around, like I was just on a hunt with in Colorado. My filmer always says, if you're having fun, you're not hunting Drew Miles. And like I told him, like, that's not true. Like, not necessarily. Like, I don't look to not have fun. I enjoy. I am having, like, anyone who hunts me knows I'm very positive. Like I'm always like, hey, we got it. One more hill, we got this. We're gonna find them. Like I have the same confidence on day one as I do on day 10, or backwards, right? Day 10, day one. Like I just know that any day can happen, and you have to stay positive out there. And when you're around somebody who just like wants to quit, wants to go home, or like you said, even just complaining like day two, like, oh, my back hurts, oh, my feet hurt, oh, like everyone's back hurts, everyone's feet hurts. Know that. Like everyone else is wet, everyone else is miserable, everyone else is hungry, right? We're all sleeping on the ground. Like you just have to learn how to just like to shut that part of your brain off. And that's where mental toughness comes from, right? And I think you can prepare for that. Like I guess we're kind of going off that partner thing, but like for me personally, I know that I go to the gym 5 or 6 days a week. I don't miss conditioning day. When we do conditioning day, we run hills. I throw a 70-pound bag on my back and run the hills, right? Or when I'll go ride, do 10-mile bike rides all the time, or I go do rucks. I get up early in the morning to do that. And like, there's a way to like prepare for it. If you just show up, you haven't worked out all year and you just show up to the mountains in October, like probably gonna have a hard time.
100%. And like physical ability, I think, is important, but I'll still go back to, I would rather have somebody that's a little bit out of shape that says yes to everything
Yeah.
than, somebody that's in the gym 7 days a week that's all muscly and is complaining, on day one or day two.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's exactly the hunt that I just went on. Like, my partner is probably like not in the greatest shape ever, but he doesn't say no to anything.
Mhm.
He never complains. Like, so that to me is way more valuable.
Yeah, man. And I've gotten older, right? I'm pushing 40 now. Are you 40 almost?
I'll be 40 in a month.
40 in a month.
Yeah.
I've slowed down. Like 10 years ago, I was running ridges. Like I was like, I just wanted to bust hills. And now at this point, I'm kind of like, I know I'll make it there and I go slower. So I do think there's something to say about that. Like, you don't have to be in the like greatest shape in the world. Like you don't have to be Cameron Haynes to go hunting with me. Not at all. But you have to be willing not to quit and willing to just keep going. Like there's one of my favorite parts of it, and then maybe it's just me. Like this is how I know who my hunting partners are, right? Not everyone's like me. A lot of guys want to go and have a freaking big elk wall tent and like cook steaks in the morning, come back to the camp at 9 o'clock. That's not me. So that's why you gotta kind of try and weed these guys out. Like I enjoy going to a place that you don't think is possible with my mental, like when Kellen killed a bull in Frank Church. This is like the worst pack of my life, best pack of my life. Kellen killed a bull 8 miles from the airstrip, and we got back to camp. We killed the bull like, I don't know, 8 a.m. in the morning. We got back to camp at like 1 or 2 in the morning. And my body will never be the same. But I remember like coming after that, like I remember like at one point passing out next to the trail and waking up when we were next to it. Remember that? Like falling asleep.
Yeah, we laid down for like, it was probably realistically only like 5 minutes, but we were just like dead, and we were like, all right, let's lay down for a minute. And then like we pretty much instantly got cold.
Yeah.
Kept walking.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was an awesome experience though.
Yeah, it's an awesome experience, and I learned something about myself. Like I learned at that point, like there's my body can do way more than I think I can. Right?
You can walk forever. That's something I tell people all the time. Like if I'm starting to get a sense that they're like, losing it or something, it's just like, dude, there's just one foot in front of the other. Just keep walking. Like you'll be fine. Like you're not going to fall down dead from walking.
Yeah. And I guess there's hunting abilities as well, right? Like you definitely want to find someone. What do you even say abilities? Like if I'm going to go hunting with you, you better damn be freaking glassing the same time I'm glassing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't want to look over and have you
napping
all the time. I mean, I'm going to take a nap during the day. I'm going to take a couple naps.
Yeah, at 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
But you better be in the glassing, right? And you better be like contributing to this hunt, because like I'm not there to guide you.
Yeah.
And I had that issue, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not here to guide you on this hunt. Like, dude, I bust my kids' balls so hard on this. Like, they're just now, I mean, obviously when they're real little, looking at the binos backwards, and doing all that stuff, which is fine. But now they're at a point where like they are in the glass, they're finding animals, which is really cool. Cause like I'm not your guide.
Oh man, I've had that exact experience on an out of state hunt where like we paid, you know, you know, it's nothing insane, but like you paid a lot for the tag and like all the travel and food money to go over there, and then you look over at 7 a.m. prime time and like they have their eyes closed and you're just like, I'm not helping you. Like if you're gonna sleep at this time, like
Yep.
you're on your own.
Yeah, you just have to be. And again, like there's people who want to hunt like that, right? Like, right, but that might not be the guy for me. And you really need to like. I think it's very important to kind of really lay out what your hunt's gonna be like beforehand, right? I just posted something this morning on one of our local forums, like this all could be prevented if you guys would have laid this out before you got to the trailhead. Like before you get to the trailhead, this is what's going to happen, right? Before you get to the trailhead, you could say, I think a big one is whoever finds it first kills it, right? Or are we taking turns? Or are we, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, or whatever it is, like I always try to have conversations like that, especially if so for a lot of hunts, absolutely, it's like whoever finds it basically has like first right of refusal, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but a lot of times I'll be like, I don't want to shoot any deer, so
Mm-hmm.
um, I'm I'm gonna be real honest with them. If it's somebody that's not as experienced, that like if I find a big deer, I'm gonna want to go after it, and if I find something else, I'm absolutely gonna help you get it.
Yep.
But I think whatever like kind of your thinking is, you have to be like really clear about that.
Yeah, I think you need to be very upfront beforehand. Also, like what the style of hunt you're going to go on. Like this is what's going to happen, um, and you kind of know. Like I know I'm going to Utah tomorrow. The next day, I'm going to Utah with my kid for a 7 days or 8 days, something like that, to go hunt mule deer. And I know that hunt, we're going to be very mobile in the truck, but we're also going to be backpacking in 4 to 5 miles and camping out in the hills every day. I know it's going to be physically demanding. And going into it, like if I had somebody else, I need to tell them this is how we're going to hunt. Like if you're expecting us to just be staying in a travel trailer and driving around side by sides, we're probably not going to hunt well together.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is fine. Like I don't mind like if you want to be that guy, but then don't be upset when I'm leaving you to go do my style thing too, right? Which is like you have to be. I think it's very easy. It's the best way to handle this stuff is talk beforehand, right? Like about meat. Like on a lot of elk hunts, I'll tell people I'll split the meat with you because like pretty much if you shoot an elk, you're probably going to ruin my hunt, or we're gonna, you know what I mean? Like if you're on a 5-day hunt, like
There's a decent chance if you don't kill the first one on day 1 or 2 that you're not going to get 2 of them.
Yeah, you're not gonna get 2 of them,
Yeah.
right? And I'm fine with that. Like, hey, you kill a bull on day 3, I'm gonna do that, and that's something we talked about too. I expect you, no matter what, to help me pack my animal out, right? Like I expect you, unless it's just a deer or something like that. But like if we're elk hunting together, and like we're 4 miles from camp or the truck, like,
Yeah.
and I kill a bull, and you're like, well, I only have one more day to hunt. Like, that's not gonna do it for me,
Yeah.
right? Or I shouldn't expect this, but from my hunting partners, if I go and I wound a deer, I expect them to kind of help me try and find that deer and look for it,
At
right?
least for a day.
At least look for that deer, right? Until I'm saying like, hey, no. But if you're like, oh man, sucks you hit that deer, I'm out of here, I gotta go kill my deer, probably someone I want to hunt with, because I'm gonna also do the same for you and understand that. Like if me and Kellen are hunting together and Kellen goes and puts one a little far back, I might call him down and be like, hey, give it 2 hours, right? Talk him through it. But I'm also going to then give him as much time as Kellen needs to feel comfortable before I, move on to go do my hunt.
I have had people on, luckily, group hunts where there was more than just me and that one person, where there was like 3 or 4 people, just pull like total selfish, like, well, I'm gonna just go hunt on this hill today or whatever because like they think they have a better chance, or I don't know, I'm not explaining it well, but like just not reciprocating when like you know, kindnesses were granted to them, and then not kind of like throwing that same attitude back towards the group when it's their turn, which is like a good way to not get invited back.
Yeah, for sure, man. And it's just like, I don't know, it kind of depends too. Like, I'm not real like bloodlust. Like, I want to kill an animal when I go hunting, but I also want to see everyone else be successful too. And sometimes you hunt people and all they care about is killing something, right? And no, nothing else matters but them killing something, and that's it. Probably not somebody I want to hunt with,
Yeah.
right? I want somebody who's going to be contributing to the group, not just thinking about themselves the whole time. Um, you know, what about man, picking a hunting partner for my style of hunting? Like, I'm definitely not Ryan Lampers, but I definitely try and hunt in that style of hunting, right? Like that. Like, I like the, you know, everything on my back, backpack hunting. Bringing a new guy into that, probably not the best idea every time.
No, you weed people out as time goes on, right? So like you go on these hunts, you learn your lessons, you take your knocks, and like you don't invite those people back in the future. And eventually, like you have your little core group of guys that you can count on, and hopefully, somebody's schedule lines up right.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, that's a hard thing is schedules
Scheduling
and
is
points.
tough. Yeah, and then points like you want to hunt this state, and it's like, oh well, this one person drew a tag there 2 years ago. They don't have the points. Another person has like whatever 4 more points than is needed. They don't want to burn their points on that tag, so it's like that can be kind of rough. Um, so I mean, definitely solo hunting is always for me is always an option. It's really you know on it's nice to hunt with other people, um, especially on those backpack hunts. That can be pretty like grueling and miserable by yourself. But um, depending on the area, I mean, I was hunting SoCal mountain unit last year by myself, um, and I didn't kill an animal, but uh, I don't want to not go because nobody wants to come with me, right?
Dude, do you know Derek Denham? He's T8 outdoorsman. He's in a wheelchair.
Mm-mm.
He's awesome. Derek, you're listening. This is awesome. He just killed a cow elk with his bow in Utah, public land. He texted me yesterday. He's like, "Hey, dude," he's in a wheelchair, like cannot walk.
Yeah.
He's like, "Hey, dude, I got this tag in Arizona from these dates. I have no one to go with me. The guy backed out. You want to go with me? It's okay if you can't. I'm going by myself."
Awesome.
Dude. And I'm like,
So
and how
awesome.
it sucks is it's like lines up right when I go. I have to go to some like political conference deal for my church, and then I got to go to New Mexico. So it's like right in the middle of that. And I'm like, dude, there's no way I'm gonna be able to do this. And he's like, that's fine. I'm gonna go by myself. Like, dude, the guy's going like in a wheelchair over to Arizona to go and freaking kill an elk on his own. I'm trying to find someone for him to go out with him because he's just like the coolest dude. Who's just like so positive and wants to do it. Like I actually want to hunt with him at some point. I'm gonna have to find a way to go hunt with Derek. But dude, that was something I heard. I was like, man, like I am such a pussy.
That's awesome.
Like,
And that kind of like ties back the whole like being willing to solo hunt kind of ties back to your overall mental state. Like earlier you were talking about like people that can't maintain their motivation or whatever, and it's
mm-hmm,
like or whatever, or complaining about the weather or something like that. And it all comes back to like, why do you want to be there? And this kind of ties in with the like local drama that we were talking about earlier. It's like, what is your motivation for being there? Like, do you love being outside and like observing animals and like trying to participate in nature, right? Like that's basically what hunting is, right? Like you're
mm-hmm,
just participating in the food chain. And um like are you driven by like wanting to like go out and be there and like see all that stuff? Because that's like I would argue that's a huge part of why a lot of people hunt
mm-hmm,
is like they just enjoy being outside, like watching animals. Most of hunting is just watching animals
mm-hmm,
until you find the one that you like you
mm-hmm.
want to kill, right? um And if you don't want to be there for that reason, there's a lot of this right now in hunting, especially with social media. Like if you don't actually enjoy doing that, like you're not going to last, because if you don't have that kind of passion driving you, if you're only there for the Instagram shots, there's like no longevity in that, because you like hunting is so hard, right?
Dude,
And
I write that all the time over like hunting's hard.
if
Like
you go on social media and all you look at is like these trophy animals, you're like, oh God, these things are everywhere, but it's like, that is not the case for basically all hunters, unless you're just paying to hunt public or private ranches all the time.
100%.
Yeah, like it is so difficult. You're not going to get animals like that all the time. Like you have to adjust your expectations. I think it's fine to only want like big animals if that's what you want to hunt. Like that's fine, but you better be prepared to like not kill them every year.
Yeah, dude, that's one of the things that's hard on social media. And like people will hammer you, go shoot a small buck, and they're talking crap to you. And it's like my buddy Johnny, he's a local guy. He's a killer, and he just had an elk tag in some state. And I thought for sure he's gonna get it done, and he didn't. And he freaking hunted the entire season, was in bulls, full draw multiple times, bushes in the way, whatever, didn't get it done. And he posts about it and just how much it kind of tore him up. And I was just like, all I replied was, hunting's hard.
It's so hard.
Hunting's so freaking hard, dude. Like anyone who thinks hunting's not hard, like has never hunted, like I just went to, and I like the hard part. Like I just went to Wyoming last week and I killed day one antelope. I mean, day one, I was done. It was kind of like, well, that was kind of uneventful. Like it was honestly, I think it's my first time ever opening day killing an animal.
Yeah.
I really do. Like I have a tendency to like, and like I always have that dramatic like last day buck thing. I just find a way to I don't know, hunts just work out like that for me. It was kind of like, man, and I was talking to my wife this morning, we're going to Utah or whatever. I'm going to Utah with my kid next week. That's where I am. And she's like, I hope you get done quick. And I'm like, I don't really want to get done quick. I don't want to get done day one. Now, granted, we want on this hunt, we want to kill a good representation of a mule deer. You know what I mean? He wants to kill a 4-point or a really big 3. And it's like, if day one shows up and that buck is in the glass, and we're going to go over 3 days early in glass and find him, like,
yeah,
if that buck's in the glass, he's going to get shot day one.
Those days count towards your hunt, though. Like,
yeah,
if you're there in the days immediately prior to your season, you're hunting.
You're hunting, yeah.
So I mean, like, that's a way to extend your hunt. But I mean, I totally get what you mean. I think you have to be realistic about, again, just like be honest with yourself about what you want. So like, if it's a hunt, like that unit that you guys are going to has a potential for big bucks, right? Mm-hmm. You're not gonna pass that, whatever class it is. Like you're not gonna pass that up on, like you said, on day one if you find that animal. But on the other hand, like you might go to, like we hunt a Coues deer unit in Arizona, or we haven't for the last couple of years, but we did for many years in a row before that. And it was the kind of unit where like, if you probably could shoot something on day one if you wanted to, but there was also like the potential for good deer in there. So, and it was always pretty much like, no, we want to hunt for the whole week. We're not like trying 3 guys tag out on day one and leave. Like we want to go camping and like go hunting and spend time. And like, sure, if a really big buck comes along, like you're not going to pass that up, but the intent is not to be done on day one.
Off topic, Wyoming does a thing called one shot, and I'm friends with the guys at Maven. I went up there and had breakfast with them last week. And Maven holds the one shot is something happening, like it was like a competition between a guy in Wyoming and a guy in like New Mexico, like 2 like rich dudes, something like back in the 50s, and it was like who could kill an antelope with one shot.
And so like meat eater guys were part of this at some
probably
point, right?
Yeah, I'm sure they were.
Yeah.
So the owner of so the goal is to kill whoever killed the antelope fastest with one shot.
Yeah.
And Maven, it's a 3-man team. Yeah. I mean, the governor does it. Like I was there, and the governor's buck is in this guy's office. Like the 3 guys in Maven 16 minutes between all three of them. They killed 3 bucks in one shot. They have the state record for one shot now.
That's Wyoming though.
Different. Totally off topic. I mean, the whole goal was that, right? Like they hunt hard too, but like their goal, they had a buck before gray light, like in the sights. As soon as it was like, okay, shooting light, within 1 minute, it was buck was on the ground, and then another one, but they're also not going for age class. They're just going for like kill 3 bucks, right, and to get it done.
Yeah.
So different thing, different time. I think it's important with a hunting partner too that they're happy for you. Like I can generally tell you, like if I go hunting with Kellen and Kellen kills a buck, I'm stoked for Kellen. Like I'm pumped for Kellen. I'm happy for Kellen. I'm not jealous of Kellen. And that can be something that can happen too. People can be like, well, I wanted a deer. Why not me? And like you want to find someone who's like going to be amped for you for your hunt and want to see like Kellen's hunting success is my hunting success. And that's something I think is very important. And you need to find somebody who's willing to have that, who's not selfish.
Yeah, pretty much at any point. If like a lot of times I'll have like more tags than some of my hunting buddies usually. And if I've already got a deer, like this year, I got a deer last week. Going into the next hunt, depending on what it is, like if it's just a local hunt, I might just be like, it's your turn. You know what I mean? Like you whatever it is, unless it's like a giant that I spot,
Yeah.
a giant.
giant. If you saw a 120 buck in San Diego,
it's the coos deer or mule deer that we have here.
If you shoot a 120, you're going to be shared on like every page in San Diego because it's a giant. Like that's no joke. Our hybrid blacktail is the coos deer of the West Coast.
Yeah, they're basically coos deer numbers are equivalent to like a giant coos deer in inches is equivalent to a giant deer here in Southern California. So anyway, so yeah, like you would like to have a partner that would do the same for you, right? Like I already got a buck, like so you're up, and I'm here for you.
Yep.
Yeah. So.
Yep. And I think it's good to weigh expectations too beforehand. Like you talked about some of these coos hunts you go on. Like I'm going to New Mexico with my partner Paul on a muzzleloader hunt, so that right there is already going to limit us a little bit. But Paul's never killed a buck, right? And pretty much for me, I'm pretty sure Paul will want to kill a buck.
Yeah.
So if we find a small 3-point, Paul's willing to shoot it, I'm going to do what I can to get Paul that buck, right? Like I want to shoot a larger age class animal, on that hunt. I'm going to go over a few days early, try and find him. So like I want to help Paul get that done. And like I know his expectation isn't going to be like I want to shoot a 180.
Yeah.
Like when we go to Mexico this year, here's a good example. Like we're taking down the guys from All In, some Mountain Ops guys, Ben Denamon, said crazy, my partners, my father-in-law, and we're filming, right? I have a filmer with me, and I actually went and I'm hiring for my partner, my 2 partners, I'm hiring a guide, and I'm hiring a guide for my father-in-law because I already told them, like, I just want you to know, like, my goal for this hunt is to kill a buck that's over 110. I'll come home empty-handed. I don't want to shoot a small buck unless this is like a freak buck. I'm not going to be hunting with you. And I very clearly, like, this is an expensive tag for me. I want to kill a very mature buck on this hunt, and I'm going to get you a guide, and you guys will hunt with them, and that's how it's going to be. And if I hunt for 8 days and go home empty-handed, I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I lay that out beforehand, like very clearly before I go, so that when we go down there, they're not like, dude, I can't believe you're ditching me and you're going to kill all these, you know what I mean? Like, no, this is just how we're doing it. Like, I'm not going to sit with my father-in-law in the tent all day, the blind all day.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And kind of what you're describing there in New Mexico is like exactly what I was saying. It's like, and you will make that, I'm sure, clear with that partner that, like, hey, unless I see like a deer of this class, you're going first, right? And usually people that are like open to shooting any buck get that, and they realize that like it's unlikely that that's going to happen. Like I'm most likely going to have first crack at it, So.
But now, what if that guy misses, you're up, right? You get the guy on a buck, he misses, kind of like.
I think it depends on like what you really want to shoot. If that deer gets spooked out, are you saying like the deer's still standing there and
No, not the
or
same deer.
like
Like, hey, I'm gonna get you a buck. We're gonna
it's
get you a
your
deer. It
turn?
was each time like
Yeah, but if you're still
turns
looking for that age
the big buck.
class,
Yeah,
right? Then
yeah.
like right, you're just hunting until you find that age class and like every other deer between then and now, because like there's a decent chance you don't even see that age class on a hunt, right?
Mm-hmm.
Depending on the unit, obviously. But I mean, if you're going for a 180 buck, like there's lots of hunts where you're never even going to see that deer.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So what about like having a partner that's you're willing to respect, like willing to hear him out. Like, Drew, you're making the wrong decision right now. We should be over here glassing. Like, this is what I would do. Like, I think it's important to have somebody you could talk to who isn't necessarily like who's willing to go along with you, because sometimes it's your hunt, right? Like sometimes Kellen's up, it's his deal. We're going to do whatever Kellen wants to do. I might give him a little input, but I'm not going to be like you're an idiot, right? But like it's important to have that respect. Like I remember when you killed your bull, in Idaho, you're like, hey, it's over this way. I'm like, no, trust me, dude, we got to go up a little bit higher. It's going to rim over when we go over there. And we looked at it and we're like, oh, you're right. And then we got up there, and then sure enough, that bull was there. You killed the bull. I'm not saying I killed that bull, but like we were able to talk things through a little bit and like look at it rather than like, hey, I'm just going to do this, or me saying you're dumb, don't do that. Like it's like we kind of talked through some things and we got it done.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you have to have some sort of. It depends on the situation, but yes, like collaboration is great, and I'll say sometimes I get into like whatever you want to call it, kill mode,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll be like, I can be kind of instinctual about things,
Mm-hmm.
and like I'll just be. I'm not trying to contradict what you're saying. I do think it's like really important to have teamwork and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes I'm just like, nope, this is
How
like
we're gonna do it.
what I'm doing.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, I'll just pause for a second.
All right, we're back. Sorry about that. My kid knocked on the door. I have a 10-pound poodle that I blew up for 4th of July for our ads that is in my office all the time and tried to kill my kid at the door. So we're going to pivot. We talked about picking hunting partners. Now let's talk about new hunters and what it takes to get to go hunting with somebody. I just took my buddy Joey out with me. Love him to death. Had a great time with him. Definitely was probably not the perfect hunt to bring him on for his first hunt. I think it was a little bit of a shock for him. Like I kind of threw him to the wolves, but it was a good way to kind of bring him out there and do it. I probably I'm going to hunt with him again in January. We're gonna go hunt. We'll go hunt over the counter archery in Arizona, which will be a much more mellow hunt. I'll probably tow my trailer over, have a side by side. Go. Arizona's one of the cities you really don't have to backpack hunt. Probably been a better way to kind of get him out there doing that stuff. But took him out with me. I could say that I took Joey out because Joey's somebody who I have a lot of respect for, somebody who I shoot archery with all the time, who's always been willing to help me with my archery stuff, and I just like him. And he's not a mooch. I can say that I have had people in my church get very upset with me because they say, hey, I want to go hunting with you. And I tell them no. And what do you mean no? Well, no. Like, why would I take you hunting? You have nothing to contribute to this. All you want me to do is take you out to my spot to kill you a deer. That's not what I want to do. Like, I don't want to just take you hunting to kill something. A lot of guys just want to kill something, not learn something. Who I will take out is somebody who wants to learn, right? Learn how to hunt. And it's very rare that those guys exist. Like there's a lot of guys who want to hunt like I do. Actually, there's very few guys who want to hunt as much as I do. But like I have one kid in my church. He's not even a kid. He's freaking 35 years old. David, he's probably listening to this podcast. David Matrenga. He was my apprentice when I started Bible study 20 years ago. Very hardworking kid. He wanted to, at that time, not a kid, he's a man. He's a peer of mine. He wanted to get into hunting. I found a way to get him a bow. We put some money together, got him a bow, gave him some spots. He went out, he ended up killing a deer with his bow, archery. And he was going out all the time. He's actually hunting, putting time into it. So I was like, hey, David, I have some points. I'll roll you into this hunt. I have more than enough points to go on this cow hunt in this state. I'll roll you into this hunt with me. You want to go? Took him on this hunt, got him his first elk, right? But the reason why I'm willing to do that with David is somebody who's willing to put the work in the hunt. And a lot of guys aren't willing to do that. They just want to go and have you get them something killed.
This goes exactly back to like what I was saying about like, what are your motivations for being out there? Like, what do you want to learn? Like, do you want to, like, so much of your first years of hunting are just like making mistakes and hopefully learning from them and like observing like how things work out there and like figuring it out, you know? I mean, um, when I hunted a fair bit when I was a kid, and then like as a teenager and early kind of college years, I was like busy doing other stuff as a lot of young men are.
Yeah.
And I got back into it, and Southern California hunting is like really, really hard, right? Like our average success rate in most of the Southern California zones down here is like 10% or less.
Yeah, I think it's been 6 last couple years in San Diego.
So anyway, those first like couple years when I got back into it, you know, I was like walking around with my rifle as a lot of like new hunters do. And, you know, it took me a couple years, and I think on like year 3, I got a buck.
Mm-hmm.
And like that was pretty fairly quick for like a Southern California new hunter, right? But it's because I was like going out there by myself every day that I was off, and my motivation was like to figure out how to do it, not just to like take a picture with a dead deer.
Yep.
And so finding that person that like wants to learn and isn't just like, oh, take me to this spot or take me to that spot. They're just like, I don't care. I'll be at the coffee shop at 4 a.m. Like, I'll meet you there, you know, whatever you say, I'm going to do. Right. Finding that person that's willing to just like throw themselves at something and do it until they become successful. Like, I'll hunt with that person every day, you know.
Yeah, man. And I'm much more apt to take you out if you're already going out.
Yeah.
Like if
you've shown you,
like if they're showing me their pins and I'm looking at it like, dude, like you are like,
you're lost,
you're 1 mile off of where you need to be. Like you're not like, especially San Diego. Like I've got this place pretty, like I know where deer are in pretty much every part of this county now. But if they're willing to put the work in, if they're going out and they're scouting, putting time in, then yes, I'm going to take them out.
Destroying your truck, just driving around
yeah.
back roads, just like beating your truck to death.
That's the guy who I'm like, yeah, I'll take you out and I'll show you around.
Yeah.
Right. And then like one way I've come, like even like when I started hanging with Daryl, I actually was like, man, like there's this leftover tag thing in Arizona. This is back when you actually could draw it. I was like, hey, do you want to go on this hunt with me? Right. And I orchestrated it to make it happen to get to hunt with Daryl. And like Daryl is probably one of the most prolific killers in San Diego. And now he's become a really good friend of mine. We talk on the phone probably more than me and my wife talk. We talked last night for an hour.
He's a really good dude.
He's a super good dude.
He killed a really big deer in Southern California.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a bunch of other like really respectable ones too.
Yeah. He's just a killer. But I orchestrated that and put it together, and I went hunting with them. Right. So like, you want to like as a new hunter kind of like bring something to the table, you know, other than like get me a deer. I want to kill a deer. Let's go. Like especially like with this whole new like I had a girl with my foster ministry last night at this thing, and she's like, oh, I've been watching all this stuff alone and all this stuff, and I really want to get into hunting. And I'm just like, oh, well, go take hunter's ed class, you know. It's just like there's this thing right now, like especially what time we're in right now after COVID, like everyone wants to like be self-sufficient and have meat in their fridge and like go and do it. But reality is you probably just go pay for a hunt, because like the reality of getting an animal like that is really hard. And a lot of guys don't have what it takes to do that hard part of it.
Yeah. No, 100%. And yeah, we're in this like age where you're constantly being fed imagery, you know, of whatever the algorithms see that like they think you're going to want to see. And it's really, you can buy products now. I mean, even think about like 30 years ago in the 90s, like none of these big hunting companies existed. Like,
I
um,
hate hunting companies.
uh, no, I
I'm
mean,
just joking. Yeah.
it's not that. It's just like, what I'm saying is it's easy. It's really easy to see these pictures of whoever, pick your whatever hunting celebrity in a magazine or on Instagram and just be like, well, I can buy that product and that product and that product and
Mhm.
I can be that person, right? And then the reality is like like you said earlier, like hunting is so hard. You go out there and the animals are moving for like maybe an hour in the morning, and then it's a really long like 7 or 8 hours until the evening.
Until that last hour when they're moving again.
Yeah.
That elk I just went on. It was like
And
85 degrees, and it was like that, dude. It was like sunburnt. Couldn't find shade.
it's brutal. It's brutal. On I was on a ridge line a week ago, or maybe not even a week ago, just full sun, even at 10,000 feet. It was
Mhm.
so hot. It was so hot. And it was just like the longest day waiting for 4 o'clock to come around when the shadows like started to get long again.
Dude,
It was brutal.
I was stoked that we hunted this burn, right? Colorado, and it was awesome. But then like one thing about a burn is there's no shade. So like I was like having to like prop my backpack up, and I didn't bring my tarp. I use it for my tent. So like I was like prop my backpack up against trees to like try and get shade, and I'm just like huddled down behind this thing trying to get shade to get rest. Yeah,
100%.
it's a grind.
I had my like sun hoodie on and I was like tucking my hands into the sleeves so that
Yeah,
because there was like nowhere to shade my hands.
you're good at wearing those sun things, dude. I should wear them more. I always just get end up with a farmer's tan. I'm gonna end up with like skin cancer on my arms because I freaking never always wear t-shirts. Um, so on that with the new hunters, like recommendations for new hunters too. I think we're not really going too far off the original topic. Like I always tell people, like you want to get into hunting, um, big game hunting. Like you can go bird hunting. Like I'll take you dove hunting, whatever. Just don't take people to my spots. Like I don't really care about that. The total big difference between like taking you dove hunting, taking you a duck blind, and taking you deer hunting. If you want to get into hunting, I recommend in like California, paying for a pig hunt, going on a guided hunt, learning. You're going to learn so much on those guided hunts. You're going to get with a guide like my buddy Robert Clark. He's a guide over in Utah. That guy hunts 100 days a year, and he's going to kill 20 elk this year. Like you go spend whatever it is, $5,000 or $8,000 to go hunt with that guy. I know it sounds expensive. You're going to learn so much in that 1 week span just being around those guys, like how to gut an animal, how to find animals, how to, it's so worth it.
100%. I never have done well, that's not true. My sheep hunt was guided
Because it has to
because it
be.
has to be by law. But before that, everything I did was DIY, except for that my uncle wanted to go on a quail hunt in Arizona. This was before I had my dogs, and we went to southern Arizona and did a couple days with this guy on Mearns quail, and it was so valuable. I learned so much
Mm-hmm.
in those 2 days of hunting with that guy, and like we killed a few birds, for whatever we paid him, like $300 per piece per person per day,
Which is so cheap
So
now.
yeah.
Looking back.
But
Yeah.
I mean, for $1,200 for
Yeah.
the two of us for 2 days, like we probably killed like 8 birds total or something
Yeah.
like that. Which is, and it's not about that. That's not what I'm getting at. But what I'm saying is like where the real value in that was like all the questions I asked that he was like perfectly willing to. And I ended up going back to that place, that region with my dogs. I didn't hunt his canyons, like
Mm-hmm.
I learned so much from him. It was like, okay, these birds are everywhere. Like you just have to know like what things to look
Mm-hmm.
for. And guides, in my experience, are totally happy to like answer questions, especially if you're asking intelligent questions about about the animals and stuff, not just like are they here, are they there. You know what I mean? So um I think it can be a hard pill for someone to swallow, to kind of like give up control of the hunt and like pay someone, and maybe like, mentally like takes some of the pride out of it or something, I think, for some
But as a
people.
new hunter,
Yeah.
it's going to cost you so much more
Time.
and money and gas.
Yeah.
Like if you went out hunting, like I know this hunt me and Joey went on was tough on Joey. I'm not trying to pretend I'm a great hunter, but I found elk every single day. Joey got a crash course it was his first time glassing up an animal.
Right.
He got a crash course in finding animals and backpacking and all that stuff because he's willing to go out with me. And I'm not a guide. They didn't pay me to go on this hunt. But like you could get that from a guide from going on some of these hunts. And like another thing I'll recommend too is you can only big game, most guys can get one tag a year, right? You can coyote hunt year round. I know you're not a big coyote hunter, but like I got I don't want to say I got very good at hunting through coyote hunting, but coyote hunting helped me find spots.
Yeah.
And it helped me learn how to play the wind. Like
Yeah.
I had no idea of like wind, breaking up my background, any of that stuff. When I first started hunting, just like you, I'm just walking around. Like literally the buck I killed, I jumped him and I shot him. It was, and I was glass at the point I was trying to glass and that stuff. But like, dude, like I remember my first hunt, dude, I went to hunt Javelina in Arizona and I literally just walked around with a rifle, dude, for like 7 days pounding ridges. I mean, just pounding ridges. We bumped a couple of Javelina here and there, bumped some deer, but like I didn't own a tripod. I had like a pair of binos, like a cheap pair of Redfield binos on my chest, and that was it. Like I had no idea what I was doing.
No, I 100% support basically all predator hunting. For me, it's a totally a matter of how I choose to take time away from my family and what I want to use it on.
Yeah.
So,
and I don't do it enough at all either. Yeah. I don't think I've done it this year.
Yeah. But no, I mean, yes, go do those like OTC year round, whatever type hunts. Go shoot, get a bolt 223 and go shoot jackrabbits. Like, that's fantastic practice. And it's like, it's relevant, to big game hunting. Go do those, if you live in California and you have access to any land, or your family has land and you can shoot pigs, you can do that year round, or you can pay to do that. It's gotten quite a bit more expensive, but overall, I mean, it's still, relatively inexpensive to get like a big game animal. I think a lot of them are like $1,200 now.
Yep.
So, that's not nothing, but to get the experience and to shoot an animal and to put that meat in your freezer, like you're probably going to end up spending more than that on a lot of other hunts, unless you're just buying like a local deer tag or something.
Yeah, 100%. And you're never going to, like, there's no replacement for killing things. Like the only way to really learn how to kill things is to kill things. And like it slows down. Like everything starts to slow down for you, right? Like at this point now, like I understand. Like I'm never gonna be Brian Barney. I'm never gonna be Ryan Lamperts. Like those guys are so much better than me at hunting. They're just naturally really, really good hunters. But it slowed down for me. Like, I know for a fact that we're gonna get on bucks next week.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you were talking 10 years ago, I would have just praying to see a buck.
Yeah.
See a deer. I'd see a deer and I'd be so excited. I saw a doe today. You know what I mean? Like I know for a fact that we're probably going to find bucks every single day. We're just going to try to find the right one, and we should have an opportunity to get it done. Like, and on a deer, depends on how picky my kid wants to be with this hunt. I'm hoping he's a little more picky. If he gets excited, I'm probably going to, I'm not turning him loose on anything small, but but it slows down. But
your middle boy, or
this is my middle boy,
okay,
the one that killed the deer above you.
Okay,
he's a killer. So we just got to go, and you just got to do it. And the more you do it, the more animals you kill. Like Kellen said, dude, like crosshairs. That's why I like doing the coyotes. Crosshairs on the shoulder, shooting that thing, killing coyotes, learning where to hit them, hitting them on the run, learning how to acquire. I mean, one of the biggest things I've run into people, new hunters, is like, I can't find it in the scope. It's like, dude, like,
new hunters, do not go out and buy a 4 to 24 power scope. Please buy like a 3 to 9 or a 3 to 12 or a 3 to 15 is what most of
Mhm.
us shoot. On big game animals. That's all you need. More magnification will do nothing but screw you up.
Yeah, I put a 3 to 10 on my kid's
Yeah.
308. He shoots that thing 400 yards all day long, dude. And it's so easy to find animals.
Yeah.
It's so easy to find animals with that scope.
You crank that scope up to 20 plus power, good luck finding an animal under 200 yards or 300 even. Like, it's just way too much magnification, and as soon as that rifle kicks, like you're gonna be totally lost. So don't 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 even bother with that.
So that's a pretty good pod, dude. We talked about picking your hunting partner. We talked about new hunters, what it takes to go hunting with someone. We typically always end with a hunting story, dude. I know you've been on some epic ones. I'd love to hear about your sheep. If you want to tell that story, because you killed a farmer sheep in a year that you weren't supposed to, and you got it done, and you paid the money that I kind of thought you were crazy at the time, and you did it, and
Now that was cheap.
now that was cheap.
Man, it's wild how things have gone. Yeah, 2020. Let's see, 2020. I think my grandmother died. I had some money, a little money saved that I was kind of like thinking I would use for like a special hunt at some point. And then my grandma died, and I got like a modest amount of money. Like, it was basically the same amount that I already had, and combined, it was like just barely enough to go on a dull sheep hunt. With like one of the like lower end of the price range like outfitters. But I got in touch with this outfitter. He seemed like a really good guy. He had a good list of references of guys um, that I respect, and I called several of them. I got good reports. They were very honest about like the area that I'd be hunting, and just saying like, you're not going to see a lot of sheep, but there's like good sheep in there.
Because
And
it
it's
wasn't a fly-in hunt, right?
It was not a fly-in hunt. I literally drove. Um, we'll get to
Drove the
we'll get
car.
to the
Yeah.
vehicle at some point. But anyway, so like I did all this research. I called the guy. He was like, at the time, it was like during COVID. He was like, I usually save a hunt to sell at the SCI show, but the SCI show is closed this year because of COVID. And he was like, it's yours if you want it. And I called some references, and I got my courage up, and I sent him a big fat check.
You called me. You're like
Oh my
he would
God.
call me and he'd be like, "What should I do?" And I would tell him, "You should
Yeah.
spend the money.
Yeah.
You
And
should
and
spend the
that's
money. You
like
should
what
go do
most
it."
people, including, I used to go to Alaska when I was a kid. My parents had, or my mom went to college with somebody, and her and her husband lived in Alaska, and they were marine biologists. And I used to go up there in the summer, and basically like they'd use me to clean the crab tanks in the lab, and then I'd be like set free for the rest of the day, and I would just run around in Seward for a month in the summertime, just getting in trouble and fishing every day and stuff like that. And so I always respected their opinion, and they encouraged me to go. And so anyway, I booked the hunt. By the way, this outfitter was Steve Johnson, a really good guy. He actually died last year, or earlier this year, I think. And that's really unfortunate. He was like a pillar of the sheep hunting community. It was a big loss. So that's really sad. But I'm glad I got to go with his outfit while he was still around. And he left behind a beautiful family as well. Anyway, so the hunt was for 2021.
Mm-hmm.
It was it was a hunt in the Chugach, and basically, he teamed me up with a guy named Tanner, a really cool guy. He lives in Colorado, and he does a lot of hunting for himself. He drew a sheep tag last year and killed a killer ram in Colorado. And anyway, I fly in, and I text my guide, and he's like, "Okay, we'll be there in like 10 minutes." And he's like, "We're in a blue Mercury," and I'm thinking like a Mercury Mountaineer or something, like the little old like Explorer type SUVs. And nope, they literally roll up in a 1993 Mercury Marquis, which is basically like the Mercury version of an old like cop car, kind of.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? So big body sedan with like really, loose
Just
suspension,
all
just
rusted to
like
hell from being in Alaska for 20 years.
just like a boat,
Yeah.
with a with a trunk that you could fit like 4 human bodies in. So anyway, like they pick me up. We go back to the warehouse or whatever, and like I get dialed in, and we drive out to the area, sleep at the trailhead, and hike in the next day. And it's like a pretty grueling hike to get into this area. It's walk in only, no planes, no ATVs, no stock animals at all for sheep season. Um, but it was rad. Like that first night, um, I spotted a ram, like probably like a 5-year-old ram or something on this rock face, like a mile away. But it was cool. It's like we were already on sheep. And I don't know, I won't do like a full day by day, but like we went in on the 7th. Season opens on the 10th. So basically it's like a day and a half to get into like real sheep country.
Really?
Yeah, like that first camp, like I spotted a sheep, but he was like, usually we don't see anything but like maybe some ewes here. And the next day was the 8th, and I think it started raining, and we were tent bound for like a day and a half or something. We were kind of like putzing around on the edge of like kind of ram country in there, waiting to see what the weather would do, basically to decide like which direction we were going to go. Because he was like, if the ceiling stays really low in here, we're going to like go through this one canyon versus like going up and over this pass, which is going to like put us up in the nasty stuff. So we were stuck in our tents in the rain, reading books for a while. I got to watch this grizzly across the canyon that we were in, just like digging up, I don't know, like gophers or something, some sort of ground rodent. And it was hilarious. Like this grizzly would be like digging as hard as he could. Just you could see like dirt clods flying and stuff. And then the animal, you could tell, had some sort of like tunnel that it was using, and because all of a sudden the bear would like look up and go over here, and it would run over there, like the critter had like popped its head up, and he'd run over there and he'd start digging again. And then eventually like you'd see him come up and like toss this thing up in the air and like catch it and swallow it.
Such a waste of energy
Oh,
for those small calories.
But I mean, that's what they do.
Yeah.
But he seemed to be having fun. It was not a huge bear. It was a mid-sized like bear, but it was still cool to watch. And saw like a moose run through the valley. Saw some black bears. I think just kind of cool. Just stuff to keep our interest going. On opening day, we went over to this one cirque where Tanner, my guide, had known somebody that was in there on the junior hunt. The junior hunt's like before the main opener, and they had gotten a good ram, and he had some intel that there was another good ram over there. So we went over there and kind of poked around for the day, and didn't see any sheep. Saw the gut pile for the previous ram, which was interesting. It was totally untouched. And then after that, we decided to go up and over the pass. So like the weather cleared enough that Tanner felt like we could get over into this next drainage. But the caveat was that we had to spend the night in this saddle. So like you're climbing up these like horrendous rock kind of chutes, and there's like nowhere flat anywhere. And then you get into this saddle between like these two mountain ridges, right? Which anyone that's done any like amount of backpacking or like hunting in the mountains, like saddles are a magnet for wind. So from like a strategic standpoint for camping, it's like a horrible place to camp.
Mhm.
But for hunting, like we had elevation, there was not anywhere else to sleep other than like the bottom of either side, right?
Yeah,
So
'cause it's
like
just rock. I mean,
it's
you
just
got to find a
giant
place that
boulders and
works.
stuff everywhere. And finally at the top, it's still rocks, but it's at least shale, and you can kind of like get a semi flat spot. And so we spent the night there, and there was no sleeping going on all night. The wind was just like, I had brought like kind of a lightweight backpacking tent, and it was getting completely flattened. The tent was hitting me in the face. And eventually, one of the little poles, there's one of those tents where there's like kind of a Y, like there's a
Mm-hmm.
single pole, like a ridge, like a spine, and then it hits a little circle and it splits to the 2 feet there. And so where those two poles connected, like basically right above where your head is at the highest point of the tent, that broke. I was able to kind of fix it, and then I like used a trekking pole to create like a post underneath that that ring, and that like held the tent upright for the rest of the night. Anyways, it was like not a huge deal other than just like there wasn't any sleep happening. Um, and then that morning we were beat, but we like took camp down, and we gained a couple 100 feet of elevation on this kind of ridge above us on the saddle, and looked down into this next drainage that we were going into. And fairly quickly we saw two rams that were kind of like walking pretty much straight towards us, but they were still maybe like a mile out. And one of them was like for sure young, but the other one we could tell had some mass and needed a better look. We originally thought that they might come straight up the saddle that we were in because they were walking like right towards us, but they ended up not doing that. We eventually relocated them in like the drainage below us, and then we felt safe to like move our camp down below this saddle. So we got down to like little mountain kind of tarn, which is like a pond kind of, and set our camp up, and then kind of like snuck over to look at the rams that night. And Tanner didn't feel like we could get close to them without spooking them, so he felt pretty confident that they were just gonna go up um, go up on the mountain. Basically, they go up on the cliffs and sleep, and then will come back down and feed again.
Mm-hmm.
And so, sure enough, like we got up at I don't know, we got up at like 4 a.m. and we sneak over there, and the rams were already like back down feeding again. So we're under this like massive glacier. There's like huge cliffs all around. I spotted another illegal ram up above, like way up on the cliffs above us. There's like these glacial runoff streams like pouring down like out of the rocks, and like it's like a fairy tale. And yeah, anyway, so basically it's the 13th. I don't know if I did the sequence of days there right or not, but basically there was a bunch of days spent in the tent, and then a day where we went up to the saddle, and then like on the 12th we came down the other side, and then on the 13th we were like on the rams in the morning. And it was tough because there's a bigger river down below this area that we're in, and the fog comes into that river valley like every evening, and it just kind of creeps up the side drainages into the country where we are in. And it was just like flirting with the elevation where we were at, so they would like come and go kind of. And like we kind of like half attempted this one stalk, and like Tanner didn't feel good about it, so we backed up and got back on the ridge. And then we got to a point where like the rams were feeding left to right, we get set up. When we first set up, they were at like 300 yards. Tanner's on the spotting scope. I'm on the gun, just waiting for him to give me the green light. And uh, it took. It seemed like it took forever. I don't actually know how long it was going on, but like he couldn't get the right um, angle. Basically, like the rings on my ram were mostly pretty good, except for the seventh ring was like really light, and he could not see it well. And so he needed to get the full curl look, I think, to call it legal, because he wasn't ready to like call it on rings with that one ring being so light. And so basically the fog finally like receded enough, and he got the ram has to like turn its head the right way for them to really be able to like get that full curl look. And they're really careful about stuff like that. Like they will not, if he doesn't get the look, he's not going to just like guess,
Because he was good. It ends up being good both ways, right?
He's legal both ways. Yeah, he was full
Mhm.
curl and he was 8, so he's legal both ways. But as that guide, like
Mhm.
you're never gonna call that without absolutely knowing. And so he was like very good about that. And yeah, but once he gave me the green light, like just flipped the safety off, and I didn't wait long. I got another range. He had moved out to like 380, I think. But yeah, they were totally unaware that we were there, and just, yeah, dumped him high shoulder, just like dropped in his tracks, didn't take a single step, like all over. They're not the sturdiest animals, sheep. If you watch any like sheep hunting videos or anything, like you can kind of like give them a bad look and they'll fall over dead. I don't think they're nearly as hard to kill as like um, a big mule deer or an elk or something like that. But yeah, it was awesome. I was very, emotional, really cool. Even though we're 3 days into the season, we were on like day 7 of our trip, I think, of backpacking already. So it was a solid trip in. I'm the kind of person that like I wouldn't mind shooting it on the very last day.
Mhm.
But I was far enough into the hunt where it was like didn't want to turn anything down, just because
Mhm.
it's like this was a real stretch for somebody like me to go on a hunt like this. And um, yeah, to be honest, like I definitely wanted to take a ram home, and they had advised me, the outfitter and my guide had advised me, like, you don't, like, there are big sheep in here, but like you should shoot a legal ram. Like, this is not a place where you're going to have like a lot of opportunities. So like we're going to find you a ram, you're going to have an opportunity, but like if you turn it down, that's on you. So I took that advice, and it's a it's a nice ram. He called it like a bread and butter Chugach ram. So it's not it's not a 40-inch ram. I think he was like 36, with like 13-inch bases, I think, when he was wet. So he probably shrunk some. Um, but I don't really care.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. Doll sheep.
Yeah, it's a doll sheep. So
That's one of those things where it's
yeah,
like for me, like it's the experience over the animal 10 times.
100%. Yeah, there was no way I was gonna like not shoot that ram. And yeah, just an incredible experience. I highly encourage anyone that has an interest to do hunting like that to just put some money away. Like it doesn't matter what it is. Like I do a monthly couple $100 into a index fund, and just let it sit, and just keep putting money in there, and eventually you're going to have it doesn't take that long. A few years you're going to have like a significant amount of money, and that's just going to allow you to be able to do a special hunt when you have the ability to do that. So I definitely encourage like a little bit of long-term thinking for something special. Like keep doing your annual deer and elk and like whatever you normally do, but put that money away for something that, whatever it is, like you want to go on a sheep hunt, or you want to go on a goat hunt, or you want to do like a cool drop camp hunt in Colorado for like
Mhm.
elk and mule deer, where they like hike you or take you on horses out to a wall tent camp or something. Any of those things would be rad. So yeah, pinch your pennies and go do something cool like that. It's worth it.
Yeah, dude. I know that you want to go back.
I do. I've been saving, so I would have loved to go back with Steve's outfit, but that's no longer. So I don't know. Sheep prices have gotten insane. I don't know if I'll be able to do
What are
it
they
or
running
not.
now? Are they more than 30?
I think they're up there in like the between that 25-30 range for Alaska. Canada is like unreal.
That's like 75 grand for a freaking stone sheep.
For stone sheep, yeah, but even for a doll in Canada, it's like up in that 40-50 range, I think. So, and then Alaska's flirting with 30. So, it's getting to be where like I don't know that I'll be able to do it again. But
Dude, they do all these like ads right now, like we're in politics season. All these like gas prices. They should do sheep hunts instead. Like that'd
mm-hmm,
be way more appealing to me. Like
mm-hmm.
eggs were this much. Like yeah, doll sheep was 17 grand in 2020. Now it's 30. You know,
And if you pay attention, like the Alaska hunting community at all, like if you listen to Tyler Friel's podcast, Tundra Talk or anything, like those guys know what's going on up there, and like they talk all the time about just like a lot of outfitters selling sheep hunts that like they know they're not even gonna like fill the tags.
really.
Yeah, which is really frustrating. So you need to do your homework on like your outfitter, and it may be worth it to spend a little more to have peace of mind that you're gonna have somebody that's not just like selling you an empty promise. I'm not saying that that's like prevalent. I don't know. I'm not talking about any specific outfitters or anything like that. All I'm saying is like be careful.
And if the guy has a blue Mercury, write him a check.
Oh yeah,
Write him a check.
the 93 Mercury Marquis is the sheep hunting vehicle of choice
For Alaska.
I have pictures of that ram head in
the trunk,
like with the spare tire in our backpacks and everything in the trunk of the Mercury Marquis. That was amazing. Yeah,
that's awesome, dude.
Yeah,
that was a good pod, bro. I appreciate you.
No worries, man. Anytime.
Till next time. That's it. Kellen Vawter. He's a killer.